Republican Michigan State Representative Maddock. Matt, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on this afternoon.
Well, I'm going to get to the election stuff in Wayne County in a second, but since we're talking lockdown, let's begin there. I know you and a couple of your colleagues have decided to move forward, probably at the behest of a lot of your constituents, with impeachment paperwork against Governor Whitmer. Fill us in.
Well, you know what? We've been very, very obedient and subservient here in Michigan for 8 months, and we shouldn't have to wait this long to get our form of government back. What she's doing is illegal and criminal, in my opinion, and many others.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting to me is the CDC director just said a day or so ago, when they were having that press briefing about the coronavirus and the new vaccine that's got a 95% approval rating, it works. It's going to help folks if they want to take it. I throw that out there. From Pfizer, it's coming soon. We heard the president talk about it. But the CDC director just said kids need to go back to school. And I believe the term was, it's one of the safest places they can be right now. Where are you at with your schools being on lockdown in Michigan?
They're pretty much closed right now. You know, we're denying our youth tremendous opportunities, scholarship opportunities. There's record high depression amongst high school students and college students. And, you know, families have to bear this burden themselves. And they are really upset right now.
Yeah, I read an article the other day that said in the last month, there have been more deaths from suicide in the nation than the coronavirus.
Yep. People are not getting the medical attention they need. There's alcohol and drug addictions are going through the roof. Suicide is almost doubled in Michigan. And, you know, how far can we take this before the solution is worse than before what we're dealing with, the solution is worse than the actual problem itself?
Yeah. And we've heard from Dr. Atlas, I believe even Dr. Fauci, several months back, may have said it, but who knows? He's always back and forth this way. And the CDC director, that in the long run, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, there will be, in fact, more deaths caused by the lockdowns than the virus could ever atone to. Period.
Well, if you run the numbers out and you look at how many people are surviving COVID, you know, the death rate, the mortality rate is only about 0.3% more fatal than the flu. So what we're dealing with here is just a little bit of a bad flu season. I think most people are starting to realize this.
Well, and when you see how quickly the president recovered, and you're seeing now that, yes, the numbers are going up because we're doing 1.5 million tests a day, more tests than any country on the planet. Of course, you're going to have more positive because people are getting it. But then you look at the severity of their condition once they contract it, the condition way down. The severity is not, the hospitalization rate way down. And as you just said, the death toll way down. Of course, the media.
And let me say something else. Part of the reason we're seeing increased hospitalizations is because a lot of these doctors don't want the liability. So they're sending people into doctors. And in Michigan, only about 80% to 90% of those people that are sent to hospitals are being discharged within 24 hours. What does that tell us? That tells us that these doctors are sending people into the hospitals that probably shouldn't be there.
And then that makes the count go up. And I'll add one more to that one, Matt. Don't forget the director of the CDC several months back, right, the height of the lockdown in the summer, when everyone was discussing the number rising so quickly, I believe someone asked, or maybe he actually just threw it out there, but they said, so the number, the death toll, this is tracking folks who have died from and died with COVID-19. And everybody forgets that with. That with means something else. That means you could be stage 4 cancer and you're going to pass. That could mean you're in a car accident, but you had COVID in your system, but never exhibited any signs, but then died from your injuries. But when they draw your blood and do the death certificate, if you had COVID in your system, they mark you down as died with COVID. But that still goes to the total death count from the ones who are actually dying from it.
Right. And you know what? Let's talk about the real deaths that we know about. Here in Michigan, our governor made a single decision on her own without the legislative body involved whatsoever to send thousands of people into our nursing homes that were infected with COVID, okay? In the very beginning of this, when we had no idea how, I mean, we knew how dangerous COVID was, but she had no business doing that, okay? So here we have thousands of people in Michigan that have died, our most vulnerable people, our grandparents, okay? And I can assure you this, I can assure you that if we would take that topic alone, and that would have gone to the floor of the legislature and in the House, we would have properly debated that. We would have had our discussions and our debate. And I guarantee you, not one single person on the House floor, Democrat or Republican, would have thought that was a great idea. So this blood is on her hands for these elderly people that have died.
Yeah, and why is it that we only heard about New York, Michigan, and Washington, Democrat governors, locking down elderly people in the nursing homes, which had some of the highest death tolls.
Yeah, someone please explain that to me. And that's one of the reasons we want to have these impeachment hearings. We want to get to the bottom of this. We have thousands of people here have died in Michigan, hundreds of families who have watched their loved one die on a Zoom call like we're doing here. You know, and some of these people in these nursing homes, you know what they did? They were so depressed. Some of them stopped eating and actually starved themselves.
Oh, my God. Well, Matt, I invited you on to talk about the impeachment, but before they wrap us up, I got to ask you about what's going on in Wayne County. I'm not sure how close you live to that area, but I'm sure you are tracking it, being a state representative. What in the heck is going on? I mean, you get these guys on this canvassing board like this Ned Stabler guy and others threatening these two brave canvassers who stood up and said, I'm not certifying this bogus election. And then they reverse, thank goodness, and stick by their guns after they were going to certify because they were threatened. So where do we stand right now with the recount, if there's going to be one, with the certification in the state of Michigan?
Well, I'm part of an organization called Michigan Conservative Coalition, something I founded several years ago that actually trained and recruited almost 1,000 volunteers to monitor this election, okay? I was down on the Coble Hall floor arena 4 years ago, and the things I saw 4 years ago to blow your mind, they're supposed to have locks in the machines. We had machine boxes and doors on machines flapping in the wind. We had people that could have easily fed ballots through over and over and over again, which I'm told they've done in the past, and they may have done it this time. So Wayne County is an absolute nightmare and a mess. And you know what? What gets me the most is this. We had hundreds of volunteers on that floor, okay? There's about 150 different voting operations set up on the floor of Coble Hall or the arena floor. And they were doing everything they could to block us. They were almost physically assaulting us. And if anyone had to sneeze or if their mask accidentally dropped down below their nose, they would have police officers escort us out of that arena, and they would not allow us replace our volunteers so they could watch this. My question is, if you got nothing to hide, what are you hiding?
Exactly. And Matt, we're rolling video right now of that center, and you see all the workers elbows to you-know-what's this close, but you guys had to be way over there. Come back next week. Yep, good.
What they did is this. They had several other outside organizations, probably funded by George Soros and others, okay? The ACLU was down there, many other organizations. So what they did is they tried to load up the spots, so they had to block our people out. They were saying, you know, we're over capacity, which is not true. We had about 400 people waiting to get on that floor. They actually locked the doors in Coble Hall and would not let the rest of our volunteers get in the actual hall. It's a 16 billion square foot hall, plenty of space in there for another 400 people.
Yeah, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? Matt Maddock, Michigan State Representative, a Republican. Thank you for standing up, sir. We'll have you back on the show next week. We can update what's going on with the vote count. You be safe. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for having me. Have a great night. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it. So with these new lockdown orders going into place across several states, how are our brave law enforcement officers going to deal with these unconstitutional orders put in place by power-hungry